on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now.
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, we are back after a little bit of a hiatus, but we are here nonetheless. As you can see, a little bit of mess behind me, but ignore that. You are not here for that. You are here to find out how to counter this little card right here, which is SP Little Knight. Now, if you've been living under a rock, Age of Overlord is upon us, ladies and gents, and it's going to be out within the next few days, if not like it's out now in certain places. The sneak peek happened over at the weekend, so people were pulling this card like crazy. It was going for like more than a box basically, but this card's crazy. So if you don't know what this card does, I'm going to quickly read its effect to you. So it takes 2 effect monsters. Now, if this card is link summoned using a fusion, synchro, XYZ, or link monster as a material, you can target 1 card on the field or in either graveyard, banish it. Also, your monsters cannot attack directly for the rest of this turn, so that is something to keep in mind if your opponent's using this going second. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including a monster you control, banish both until the end phase. You can only use each effect of SP Little Knight once per turn. Now, if you didn't know, ladies and gents, this card is absolutely busted. The new Nightmare Unicorn, and when this card got released, it said IP is meta match, which is ironic because IP seems to be the end board of a lot of decks of late or going forwards anyway in the upcoming meta. So how do we counter this strategy? Because it is effectively a 2-for-1. So it's a removal on link summon if you link it off using IP Masquerader's effect. And on top of that, it's also a temporary removal. Now, if you manage to get rid of a combo piece, for example, that is super duper strong, especially when you're mid combo or it's a pivotal piece that requires a specific named card, for example. Super duper useful. So how do we counter this strategy or this card basically? Let's get into it. So the most obvious answer is something that you've probably got in your deck at somewhere. It's probably a staple right about now, and it's a card that kind of like sometimes drifts a little bit out of the format, but it's omnipresent. It's always there basically, which is Infinite Impermanence. So my advice to you is, I feel like alone Infinite Impermanence is not a strong enough interruption per se. It's a very strong card. It doesn't play into talent or triple tactics thrust. However, it doesn't do enough in my opinion. So my advice to you would be, if it's the only card that you've got, the only interruption, I'd ideally save that for your opponent's turn. So you can start off your turn by imperming the IP Masquerader. If they decide to chain the IP Masquerader, then effectively kind of like turn on your talents or whatever, or you can even hold your Infinite Impermanence to the main phase. But just holding it and using it for the IP Masquerader is super duper useful. You can also force the battle phase as well, which kind of like baits out the IP Masquerader effect to tag out into SP Little Knight anyway. But definitely holding your imperms until you feel comfortable enough to kind of like just fire it and just be able to play basically. The other card is Forbidden Droplets, which is back in the format. Super powerful card, and there's something to note as well, especially with decks ending on IP Masquerader. It can be a pseudo risky strategy, especially if there's any cards that kind of like OTK basically, because they're trying to get the most value out of SP Little Knight. They're probably going to end with IP Masquerader board, and if you Forbidden Droplets the IP Masquerader, you cut its attack in half effectively. So you can actually kind of just OTK over the IP Masquerader, because typically it's going to tag out into the Little Knight, and if it doesn't, it just sits on board and it's just a literal sitting duck ready to be attacked over. So you can do mad damage over it like super duper easily. So definitely hold the tactics, definitely hold the Infinite Impermanence, definitely hold the Forbidden Droplets. Well, Droplets you can play whenever you're ready, if your deck can facilitate it. If it can't, then I would urge you to go towards the other little tech that I'm thinking about, which is Forbidden Chalice. Again, Chalice is not like Imperm. You can actually just start doing your plays with Chalice. And then when they chain the IP Masquerader, you can just chain Chalice to it. Now, obviously, it's a little bit more difficult because if you're going into an established board, you're probably going to be playing up against like Omni Negates. Like, it's difficult to actually resolve it, which is probably why it's let's say there's no list, but it's not as prominent as like Infinite Impermanence, for example. But it still definitely does get the job done. And you can even hold it as well. You can hold it for the SP Little Knight, or however, I would advise not doing that, because SP Little Knight's effect is a quick effect to tag out. She can actually dodge Imperm, which is why you want to address the Masquerader first and foremost. So just a heads up, Infinite Impermanence, Forbidden Droplets, and obviously Forbidden Chalice if you're looking for a little bit more of a budget alternative. And finally, two more little texts that you probably want to incorporate. The first one being Dark Ruler No More. Now, I think this is a little bit more invaluable going into this next format. I think it's only Vanadium that's really searching a counter trap. So Dark Ruler No More is free to be fired again. We're in a format where hand traps are definitely proficient, but if you can't manage to facilitate too many hand traps, board wipes or like just mass removal or mass interaction is definitely the way to go forward. And I feel like Dark Ruler No More probably fits that niche correctly. Hasn't seen too much play just because Telement seems to be a deck that's going to be a little bit prominent, and they can just literally play whenever they want to play. It's crazy what Telements can do. But for most of the other established like decks that are in the meta, Dark Ruler No More does have a little bit of an answer to them, even Vanadium for that matter, because they can't always get to reframing. But Dark Ruler No More just literally shuts off the whole board basically, and you just don't need to worry about your opponent using an IP Masquerader effect and tagging out into SP Little Knight, which is the whole part of the problem. It's that interruption at a key moment when you're trying to build your board or establish some kind of like combo or combo string together. So Dark Ruler No More, definitely powerful. I will give you a word of caution though. If you're going to use Dark Ruler No More, you need to be able to kind of like put yourself in a position where you're in control of the game state, or you've simplified it enough to where you're on at least even keel, or you've got a little bit more advantage. If you're going to Dark Ruler No More and not really combo waffle or clear the board, it's a little bit pointless. So make sure that your deck can absolutely be able to do that. The other tech that I wanted to talk about, again, another little more of a budget tech, is actually Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is actually pretty good for this reason solely. There's a few cards in the format. I think it's the Gold Sarcophagus, which is facilitating all the Horus plays, which is probably why you would want to include something like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, because it can hit that card. It can hit IP Masquerader because she activates on field, so it is a little bit more useful. And with some of the prominence of field spells, I don't know, Peaceful Planet Calarian, for example, again, Ghost Ogre can hit that. And as we're going to start to see a few more of those decks hit the format, it's definitely something to keep in mind, as well as I can't remember its name, I'll put it on the screen for you. I think it's Typhon, the anti-Zeus card basically. Again, Ghost Ogre hits it, so you can literally just turn that floodgate off like in an instant. As soon as it uses its effect to, I think it's detach and bounce a card, you can just pop it with Ghost Ogre. So it does have a few applications in this meta, and I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about it enough, so it's something to definitely consider. But that is it, ladies and gents. Are there any cards that I have missed out? There's only a few that I've named. Obviously, I can't name every single counter for SP Little Knight, but it's something that you need to be cognizant about, because I'll be honest, people have been eating this card up like it's going out of fashion, and expect to see on a majority of the end boards going forward either IP herself ready to tag into SP Little Knight, or just SP Little Knight on board if they're playing a little bit more conservatively, ready to banish one of your combo pieces. So definitely keep something in your back pocket in order to kind of like address that board state. But if there's anything I've missed, definitely get at me in that comment section below. And we find ourselves at the end of another video. As always, if you did like this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I would definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.